quite relevant and important here. So I'll start my presentation with what's happening around the world. From a tax perspective, obviously, otherwise everyone knows what's happening. Actually, there's nothing much happening right now. Everything is kind of on a standstill. There is a lockdown complete on a global scale. So I was just hearing some other sessions also, and some of the speakers, quite senior speakers, they were saying that they have spoken to their parents and other things, and then they parents also have not seen a situation like this in their times also. So previously, when diseases used to strike, they were quite common. Plague has stuck. I'm from Hyderabad, so I've heard stories of plague being stuck in Hyderabad a couple of times in the past. Before independence and after independence also, and even at that times this kind of situation was not there. That's what I heard. So what the situation currently, what is there is kind of called in economic terms as a VUCA. That's VUCA. It's quite volatile. V stands for the volatile, U stands for uncertain, C for complex, and A for ambiguity. So there is so much uncertainty around everywhere that it's no one with any can predict anything about the future. Even tax matters or any other matters, it's very difficult to predict what will happen tomorrow, because no one would have known a month or 1.5 months that this would be a situation so bad or so it would be of such scale. So the situation current is very volatile, very uncertain, and and it's an unprecedented, in at least in the known history. It has not happened in the recent or in the known history. So it's whatever companies do, governments do, would be also something different. It's not something which the government had experiences, or maybe the companies have experiences to deal with such kind of situations. So from a tax perspective, focusing on the tax perspective, I just want to first to look at what's happening globally. It's kind of coincided more or less, because India also took these stands on lockdown very close to what US had done or some other large countries have done. Very few countries, maybe a week, 2 weeks earlier, they would have taken similar measures, but it kind of coincided globally. And they are measures which other countries have already taken up. So we just look at those measures and see what India has done differently, or India has done something similar or not. So from a business and economy perspective, the maintaining the cash flow, maintaining the business, is what the governments and everyone wants. That's the core goal. And how do you do this in a situation where everything is in a lockdown? So the lot of fiscal policy measures have been introduced by different governments, both monetary and financial policies. Also, and tax plays a very important role on all these policy matters. And as we go through the slides, you will understand that why is tax so important in this situation. So a lot of countries, what they have done, particularly the developed countries, are that's bullet number 1 of the screen. If you look, waiving or deferring employer and self-employed social security contributions, as well as payroll-related taxes. Unlike India, where there could be some level of employment security, in the sense that there we have the Industrial Disputes Act, we have the Disaster Management Act, which gives certain powers both to the government or to the employees, not for all sectors, particularly the IT sector or the software sector. These are all exempt from these provisions, but they have certain rights where they cannot be just removed from employment. But a lot of these developed countries do have very liberal laws. And where there could be situations where companies, if they don't see the situation improving, or if they see the huge cost coming in without revenues, they could just remove people from employment. So, and in these countries, most of it's completely, employment is almost 90%, 95% is in the organized sector. So to stop this unemployment which would come up, countries are waiving or deferring employment social security contribution, because social security is also a big component of the salaries in these countries. So the government have waived in certain countries the social security component. In India, what has government done? India also government has done something similar, but India, it has done at a very, very small level. It is very small segment of the SMEs they have target. That they have said that companies which have less than 100 employees, and out of which 90% of the employees receive salary less than 15,000. For those employees, they would make the social security contribution for 3 months, which is, I think, very less and very small. And it's too many conditions. Less than 100 employees, salary less than 90% of the people having salary less than 15,000. Those would only get the benefit. And just I was looking at the Twitter handle of the finance ministry and governments. There's a reporting that the government has already contributed 162 crores towards to an EPF contribution of such employees. So it's again a very small amount, but that's something the Indian government has also done. It is important to note that in India, not everyone is in the organized sector. I mean, not all the employees would be registered for EPF and other social security benefits. So government is also giving, actually the government's focus is also on those unorganized sector, or the employees who are not, or the workers who are not registered for any of these social security benefits. So government has actually focused its energy, or it's put its money on those people who are more vulnerable, and they have actually contributed significant amount to all the Jan Dhan accounts, and also to all the people who are employed under the Prime Minister or Mahatma Gandhi Rural Employment Scheme. So moving ahead, in other countries, government has been providing tax concession for workers in the health and other emergency related sectors. Now, this is a way to incentivize the health and other emergency related sector employees. So these are the employees who are at the forefront of this war, if I can call it a so-called war. They have been fighting this thing, the healthcare, the doctors, the nurses, and other healthcare, the sanitation workers, the cleaners. They have been fighting this kind of a war. And the government are providing them tax concessions. In India also, again, certain things, I think they have not done it from a tax concession point of view, but a lot of local government or the state governments have provided additional salaries or additional allowances to such workers. Providing it through way of a tax concession could be an other way of giving or motivating them. But in India, again, they may not be paying much tax, because all these people may not be earning so much. So in effect, they may not be getting too much of tax benefit also. The third thing is providing additional time for dealing with tax affairs. Okay, so now these are challenging times, and what happens in challenging times is, I mean, obviously tax is not everyone's priorities. They are other important things to do. I mean, they are things to see whether the employees are okay. There are things to see whether they are well settled. There are no disruption in the production, and all those things. Other things become important. So tax is something which should be at the top of the priority of anyone right now. So for those things, a lot of countries, they have extended tax deadlines. They have deferred tax payments. They have made provisions for more generous loss offset provisions, given some tax exemptions. So a lot of timelines have been extended. A lot of benefits which are given normally with a specific timelines, they have been extended. So that's what India has also done, and that's what is covered in my next slide. So I won't spend much time on it right now here. We will anyways look at it, what India has done on this front in the next slide. Other measures include deferring payments for VAT, customs, and excise duties for imported items. So as you know, certain items have they have a supply lockdown right now. A lot of countries, they're not able to get medicines because there was a huge demand suddenly of certain kinds of medicines. A lot of countries are facing or food shortages, because a lot of their food would be coming from different countries, and because of the blockages on the supply chain and everything. So to encourage that these necessary essential items do not become do not suffer any shortages, they have deferred the VAT payment. So the companies can import this thing. They don't have to pay VAT immediately. They can sell the supply in the market, collect the amount, and then pay the VAT to the government authorities. Speeding up refunds for excess input VAT. Now, and the other one, simplifying procedures for claiming relief from VAT on bad debts. Okay, now, many companies, where there is a sudden stop down, have faced challenges in their cash flows. Take an example of a retail chain. I mean, if suddenly all their stores are closed, they won't be getting any revenue. And when they don't, and they have huge fixed costs, they have fixed costs as far as rentals are there, or fixed costs as far as their employees are there. So the liquidity crisis which may come up for such kind of situation needs to be addressed to, and that's where the government is trying to put in some support by speeding up refunds. Wherever the government has to pay these companies, they have been trying to pay it up quickly. Similarly, VAT on bad debts. This is again a very strange thing which will again crop up now very soon in India also, because there would be a lot of situations where companies' amounts would be stuck and they would be required to pay the GST on the sales on an immediate basis, whereas where the collections would come up would take some time to collect, or there could be a lot of situations where there could be bad debts also. So countries are making the process for claiming those things, simplifying the procedures. Deferring or adjusting the required advance tax payments of business income taxes on the basis of revised expected tax liability. Okay, this again, India, for India, the financial year end is March. Okay, so it's like for the financial year 1920, it's almost kind of closed. At the lag ending, this whole thing happened. But for other countries where the year end could be a different, or where the companies have a choice to select what year end they want, they would have already paid tax for us. Suppose the year end was June. Now the company would have paid significant taxes by March on the assumption that it will get profits. But now with this whole situation, the whole situation could turn around, and they may be really be looking at a loss for the year ended June. So on those measures also, where companies have made these provisions to really give back to the companies who are facing such issues. So here it is very important to note that some countries are doing it very selectively because there are certain sectors which are getting hit very badly. Not every sector is get hit in the similar fashion. There are certain sectors which are hit very badly. There are actually certain sectors which are doing good also because of demand in certain goods and certain items. So it has to be done they're doing it very targetedly, but obviously it has to be matched with their administrative capacity to be put up to get a set measures and implement it. So there would be in certain instances companies taking advantage of it. But yeah, if you do it targetedly, I mean, you focuses on the sectors which are badly hit, then I think this helps a lot of companies to come back on business quickly. Differing and waiving taxes that are levied on a tax base that does not vary with the immediate economic cycle. So these are basically taxes which are So these are basically taxes which are like the wealth tax. These are irrespective of whether you earn profits or not, you are required to pay wealth taxes. Similarly, a property tax. So these are taxes which are irrespective of the income you have to pay. In India also, certain state governments or certain municipalities have reduced the property tax or given more time to pay the property taxes. The last point is increasing the generosity of loss carry forward provisions. In a situation where companies wouldn't be able to carry forward the loss, beyond a period, the loss would get lost and they will not be able to set it off. So they have increased those provisions. There is also another thing which some companies have adopted, is basically loss carry backward. So instead of carrying it forward, you can carry it backward, in the sense that when you foresee a loss in the current year and in the past you have had profits and paid taxes, you can actually use those current loss to take it back and set it off and claim some one refund from the government. So it's a very different thing. Certain countries give it as a one-time option. Every company can do it in once in a lifetime. It's a very good provision for some companies or certain sectors which are hit very badly by this thing. They can use this as a one-time opportunity to get back certain cash from the government if they have already had profits in the past and paid taxes. So, Piyush, just to confirm, is the voice is it clear, or do I have to?
Yeah, clear. So you can go ahead with this.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Now, this is what's happening around the world. Now, obviously, it's not, as I said, this is the first time it's happening as things, and not every country is doing the same things. But this is the broad categories of which most of the, at least the developed countries and the OECD countries are doing it along these measures. Now, coming to specifically to India. Now, what's happening in India. So the focus of the government, again, as in any other country, is to help the businesses sustain. And to help the businesses sustain, the business would have to focus on more important things. And then there are the smaller things of which are more of a compliances and more of reporting, which are not so important right now. And if companies really get stuck in these, then they may not be able to really focus on the business and get it back to normal. So to mitigate all these hardships on reporting compliances, and as I said, the Indian tax year ends on the March 31st. So companies are required to do a lot of filings, compliances as on March 31st. So the government has extended the March 31st deadline to June 30th. Now, for what all it has been extended? One is the filing of the income tax return, original as well as the revised return for the financial year 18-19. So the deadline for filing the return for the financial year 18-19, that is March 31, 2019, is March 31, 2020. I mean, the system does not allow you to file a return after that. So the deadline was March 31st. Obviously, now it is extended to June 30th. Aadhaar and PAN linking. The due date has been extended number of times. I think it's almost 4 or 5 times the due date has been extended. So once again, this was supposed to get done by March 31st. Now whoever hasn't done it has a time up to June 30th to do it. Coming to making various investments. So as usual, most of the people make investment only at the last moment of time. So they would have actually not made this investment, which you get as a deduction by maybe by March 15th or March 20th. And they would have to do it by March 30th if they want to really claim a deduction from the taxable income. So this is that ATC section, which gives you a 1,50,000 deduction. There is ATCCD, which gives you an additional 50,000 deduction for NP for payments to National Pension Scheme. ATD, which is for Mediclaim insurance. ATG, which is donations. So since government felt that because of this whole thing, some people may not be able to make the payment by March 31st. So the date has been extended to June 30th. So you will make the payment in 2021, but you can claim it as a deduction for your 1920 tax return. Similarly, if anyone has capital gains, then they get benefit of rollover benefit, in the sense that they invest that capital gains, particularly long-term capital gains, in a house property, or make certain investment in certain government schemes, government bonds. They are able to claim a deduction for such investments and not really pay tax on the capital gains. So, and again, it's a time-bound exercise. Suppose if you want to invest in a house property, you're supposed to do within 3 years from the year in which you are made the sale of the property. So if you have not made that thing, or you were supposed to make, and all these things happen, then you have now 3 more months time to make that investment and claim the rollover benefit of capital gains. So I'm not really going into what each section or what each benefit is there, assuming most of you would be knowing the broad provisions. Yes. So the idea is just to give an overview of what has been done specifically for by the government to mitigate the hardships of the pandemic. SEZ units. So SEZ units in India are allowed a 15-year tax holiday. It's a 5-5-5. First 5 years 100%, next 10 years 50% of the profits is exempt. So this again had a sunset clause because the government stated that they want to they want to remove all the tax benefits which are given based on profits. So SEZ was the last one, which is I think there, which is based on the profit a company earns. They are able to get a tax holiday, and that had a sunset clause that anyone commencing operations only before March 2020 would be able to get the SEZ benefits. After that, there is no SEZ benefits. So there was a big rush. A lot of companies wanted to start in SEZ before March 2020, and these all happens. Again, those companies now have they have been given a 3 months additional window to make this investment, to make the commence the operations and claim this benefit. Okay, so this all way from a taxpayer perspective. From a tax authority perspective, also it is equally important that some because the tax offices are also not been working. Some central government offices have opened, but they are also open to 50% attendance. Not everyone is allowed to come. They are working from home. So the government has also extended all the dates by 3 months for all orders which will supposed to get passed by March 31st, or whose deadline falls after March 20th and before June 29th. They can be done by June 30th. So all under the Income Tax Act, the Security Transaction Act, the Commodity Transaction Act, the Black Money Act, and the Benami Law. So all orders which the government or the department has to pass, otherwise they would be barred by limitation. Those deadlines have been extended by 3 months. Now these were measures for mitigating hardships in terms of reportings and filings. But those does not really help save businesses too much, in the sense that there's a liquidity crisis, as I said, the companies would be facing in this situation. And government is trying to see what they can help from a tax perspective also to help the companies who are facing this liquidity crisis. On TDS and TCS, okay, so this tax deduction and source and tax collection and source, a lot of companies have a situation where a lot of their money gets stuck due to tax deduction and source and tax collection and source. And these companies are specifically required to go to the assessing officer and say that they don't have so much tax liabilities to pay, and hence give them a certificates which can make them eligible to go to their payers and say and ask them not to deduct at a higher rate but at a lower rate, or maybe not to deduct TDS at all. So the government has given a blanket extension for all companies who had a TDS or a TCS certificate for the financial year 1920 to extend it up to June 30th, 2020. So whether the companies had made an application for renewal or not, they have been given a blanket approval. Although the blanket approval is obviously with certain conditions. They are required, if they have made that application already, then there is a modified procedure for the officer to pass the order. Because previously it was online through the traces, this thing. But now they are asking them to make an email application to the officer and get it. So if they have made the application, then if they get the order by June 30th, they will obviously have to follow the order they get. Or if they have not made the application, they are required to make an application by June 30th. So after June 30th, this will not there. We don't know. They may come up with more measures now if the lockdown extends for some more time. Modified procedure for new applications. So some companies in the past wouldn't have had these issues of liquidity crisis or money getting stuck in TDS, but now they foresee this happening in their business. So for them, because of the lockdown, they've come up with a new procedure. They said you make an email application rather than making it to the tracers, which may go to the central processing unit and come back to the assessing officer. They have made a modified procedure, ask them to make a direct application via email to the assessing officers, and the assessing officers have been asked to dispose these applications quickly. On payments to foreign companies which have a permanent establishment or office in India, the Act says that you either make it, the Act requires you to deduct the whole tax of whatever is due on that kind of an income. And what income is there can get to be known only after the accounts are prepared or the return is filed. So generally, companies are required to, on whatever payment they make, if the company has a P in India, foreign company has a P in India, they deduct on a conservative basis at 40%, which is the tax rate at which the foreign company is taxable in India. So it's made out of 40% rate on the gross amount, which ideally the law says the taxable is only the net amount, but because the TDS provisions do not give this liberty to the payer to determine how much is taxable, unless he goes to the officer and finds it out, takes a certificate about it. Otherwise, he has to do a 40%. So now they have given they're given a breather and said that for such payments you deduct 10% only for payments up to June 30th. And in the meantime, make an application also on what rate it should be withheld to the officer. So these are certain tedious measures which the government has taken. There is another measure also which the government again has extended. It is on the tax deduction at source for senior citizens. So they were required to give a certificate or a form 15G and 15H to the payers or to the banks for lower withholding if their tax liability is lesser than is less. So those also have been given an extension. If they've already given it for the last year, that can be extended up to June 30th. Now moving ahead, government has also announced immediate refund for all cases with refund up to 5 lakhs. So basically all those companies or individuals, partnership firms who have basically small operations and they have refunds up to 5 lakhs which are stuck in the department, those all, and the latest reporting says almost 5,250 crores have been issued as refund in the last 1 month. So government is trying to create, see that the economic activity picks up quickly and trying to see wherever the companies are due amount by the government that is being paid immediately. Interest rate deduction, interest rate reduced to 9%. So if you don't pay any of these taxes currently, generally the interest rate what you have to pay it ranges between 12% to 18%. Okay, and now with this situation, it is quite possible that the companies may not have the money to pay. They may be having profits, they may be having payments on which TDS has to be paid, and they would have deducted the TDS and made the payments. But they may not have the cash flow on an immediate basis to make these payments. So for them, the government has said that, okay, fine, you can delay. Generally, TDS delays are not looked very favorably by the tax authorities. The Income Tax Act, in fact, provides that if TDS is deducted and not paid in time, prosecution can also be launched against the directors. So here the guidance is given that don't launch prosecution, no penalty. If there is a delay, just collect the interest at the reduced rate of 9%. Now, this again, if you have to pay it by 30th June, it's not that it's a blanket thing that you will get a lower rate of deduction always. It is only for the period March to June. For the 3 months, the rate of interest is reduced to 9%, maybe from a 12% or 18%. Now, important to note that this is not a tax deductible interest. So if your company have option to take it from a bank or have this option of delaying the TDS payment, they'll have to do some calculations of which is more beneficial, because it is not tax deductible. If the bank is charging maybe 12% and it is a tax deductible, then it could make sense to use that facility rather than use the facility of the government. I'm pausing for a minute if there's anything. Now, going ahead, what other things the government has done on a direct tax front? Now, there's this Vivad Se Vishwas scheme. Okay, this was launched in this year's budget. Obviously, by the time they passed the act, they made the rules. It was quite late. The pandemic had already stuck by then. Otherwise, the whole idea was to collect a good amount of tax through this scheme by March 31st. So that is again applicable to June 30th, 2020. That's applicable up to 2020. So companies can look at that scheme also to uh, reduce their litigation, because under this scheme, wherever there is only tax payments due, wherever the company is willing to make the tax payments, they don't have to pay the penalties and interest and just pay the tax and close the case. Obviously, where penalty orders have been passed, there is an within the scheme there is an option to pay part of the penalty and also close the scheme, close the case. Uh, Donation made to PM Cares Fund. Now, this is again which is a new fund which has been started. That donation made to the fund is allowed 100% deduction. Again, you can make a payment up to 30th June and claim the benefit in the current year 1920. The limit of otherwise an ATG, what deductions benefit you get is you can make only up to 10% of your gross total income. So if you have a gross total income of 10 lakhs, then what you can make a deduction donation and get a benefit is only up to 1 lakh. So if you made a maybe a 1,25,000, you wouldn't have got a benefit. But if you make a donation to PM Cares Fund, then you get a deduction for the whole amount, irrespective of what percentage of the gross total income it is. On a export, on a foreign exchange front, again, there have been some measures because certain benefits under the Income Tax Act, particularly the SEZ benefits, they allow a deduction for export benefits if you realize within the specified period. Now, or if you have an approval from the RBI within the period provided by the RBI. Now, the government has extended the period of export realization from 9 months to 15 months for exports. So a lot of companies who had receivables from outside and who are facing challenges in getting those receivables, they don't have to struggle too much right now. They don't have to run around for RBI and getting an extension. There is a blanket approval given that they can receive this month this money in 15 months without any challenges. Similarly, if they are claiming any tax benefits, which is applicable only if the consideration is received within the time prescribed by RBI. So this gives them the benefit to get it in an extension period of time, at the same time claim the tax benefit also. Now, these were the measures which the government has taken to mitigate hardships of the taxpayers. Now, as a business, what measures do businessmen take or entrepreneurs take in these circumstances so that their measures from a tax perspective can help the business? So I have listed few points in the subsequent slides, and this is where all businessmen would have to look closely whether they can take benefit of any of these provisions, or if they any of these things are a risk for them, then what mitigating measures they can take so that they don't have any issues. And these issues are getting more exacerbated right now because of the pandemic. So what businessmen can look as a first point is any refund due from the government. or any department of tax? And can the refund be expedited? Because as I said, government is now in a listening mode. They are granting refunds. They have given a blanket order to the CBDT to issue all refunds up to 5 lakhs, basically for small taxpayers. So if you are a small taxpayer, you have refunds before less than 5 lakhs, then you should see where it is stuck and try to get those amounts. If you are a large taxpayer, you have a huge refund stuck, then again you could go back and to the government and see to the department and see if you can get this refund back. Because right now it's a time where they are listening, and it's a time where they are ready to help the businessmen. Uh, Again, this is what we already discussed. There is a need for, you have to assess whether there is a need for a lower TDS or a lower TCS certificate in the chain. So previously you wouldn't have a need for a lower TDS or a lower TCS certificate. Your tax deduction at source was sufficient to cover your tax liabilities. But now you can, in the change business circumstances where you see a lesser profit or a loss, and this TDS or a TCS deducted, becomes a situation where of um, having any liquidity issues in the business. So this can be reassessed and gone back to the tax office for a lower TDS certificate. POEM risk, this is again for Indian headquartered companies. If they have subsidiaries overseas with Indian directors and they have been managing the business from here, and because of the pandemic continuing for some time, I think there will not be much travel of directors to other countries. So, and in effect, can it be considered that the foreign company is getting managed completely out of India and accordingly a resident of India? So this is what companies would have to assess and see if they are only Indian directors, look at options of having resident directors in those countries and other measures which can be taken so that the POEM risk in India does not become a challenge or an issue for overseas subsidiaries. Similarly, there is a PE risk for companies having employees in other countries. So similar, I mean, employees which would have traveled overseas or got stuck in other countries are not able to come back to India, have gone for work, but because of the lockdown have been able to continue to work there from there. So these all will create a PE risk. Similarly, for foreign companies, if they have people who have come in India and stuck in India and continue to work in India or be in India, there could be a PE risk in either of the countries. So that is again an issue which you should look at and how to mitigate this PE risk. There are situations where a lot of business has been discontinued and a lot of expenses continue to be incurred. So what is the what is the impact of this business discontinuance is something we'll have to look. It should not be considered that these expenses are not business expenses because the business has been discontinued and will not be allowed as a deduction. So those issues need consideration so that the companies do not lose out any benefit of the expenses they are incurring. Contract cancellation and force majeure risk and cost, again similarly related to the expenses for which there could be a challenge in claiming a deduction. On transfer pricing, I'm not sure how much relevant is for the participants all year, but if companies have international transactions and you have intragroup pricing issues or intergroup pricings which have been already been agreed in the past and continuing now, and that's creating challenges in terms of cash flows. Clearly a opportunity to relook at those things and see if something different can be done to overcome the cash flows issues and the tax costs that may come up. Most of the Indian companies, particularly if they are captives and or contract manufacturers, they work on a fixed profitability or a fixed margin basis. And if the overseas company or the headquarter company is having business issues and not having sufficient profits, as a group, they may be incurring huge losses but still being paying taxes in India, or they may have very low profit and still being paying taxes in India, which could increase their effective tax rate significantly and not be looked very favorably by the tax authorities in those countries and also by the markets. So there are a number of aspects which can be looked at, and the impact of these aspects can be considered in re-looking at the pricing policy. Moving ahead, as I said, not all businesses will get impacted in the same way. Some businesses would get impacted much more. Some businesses would not get impacted at all, and some businesses may actually flourish in this whole chain scenario. As a group, if they have companies across number of companies across different business verticals, companies would want to restructure their operations so that they have better cash flows, they have cash where it is needed. So these again is an opportunity for undertaking a lot of corporate restructuring to improve the cash flow at a tax efficient manner. Maybe companies can do a buybacks, intergroup transfers, loans. All these things can be done to improve cash flows. Debt restructuring is again which companies can look at it. If companies are having huge losses, can they look at it of settling the debt to the banks by looking at a restructuring as a one-time settlement and get some benefit. Companies should also look at other schemes which the government is currently running. I think once it's become normal, what we foresee is the government may not be as lenient as as it is now, and they may become more stricter. So there are different schemes running now. There is a company's fresh start scheme, LLP fresh start scheme, Vivad se Vishwas schemes. So all these schemes are kind of an amnesty schemes where they're giving an opportunity to the businessmen, companies, taxpayers to settle or to do the compliances which they haven't done without paying much penalties. So anyways, if there's not much happening on the business front, but they have been non-compliances, the companies should look at this opportunity to settle those things. So these schemes help the government also very much, because government is in need of a lot of cash. And as I look at the next slide, because right now what we have covered is all from the taxpayers, from businessmen, from the our perspective, but we have not really looked at how is the government going to deal with all this thing. So these schemes will actually give some cash to the government also right now, and they would be willing to settle and close past non-compliances, past issues in a much cordial, in a much friendly manner. So these are some of my suggestions on what businessmen should look at or respond to the COVID-19 situation. Now look at what this slide, if you're able to look at the slide, this is the expected revenue which the government forecast in the budget, which was just presented in February 1st, by when the pandemic has not become so, it was there, but it was not, no one foresee it to become such a large scale challenge. So at that time, the government projected that they would see the nominal GDP to grow at 10%, and based on that, this was the projections which the government had done. They had projected, and this again were revised projections based on the revised projections for the last year. So that for the last year, which is 1920, the government actually did not achieve their budgeted target, and they revised it downward. And based on that revised downward, they had projected a 10% growth. And this is what the government really budgeted for the year 2021. But with the change scenario, it's a double whammy for the government. One is, I don't think so any of these numbers would be achievable in an economy which is, or in a situation where the economy will not grow at a 10%. And it is a known fact that the tax to, or I'm not getting the right word, but the tax to GDP growth, tax buoyancy ratio. So the tax buoyancy ratio in a growing economy is much higher. So similarly, in a reverse scenario, so if your GDP is growing at 10%, you can expect a 12%, 15% growth in the tax. In a reverse situation where the GDP is not growing at that rate, or it is actually falling, the tax falls much more at a higher rate. So these numbers which are taken at a 10% growth assumption will not really sustain net tax revenue, which is both the direct taxes and the GST uh, will have challenges. Dividends and profits will not be at such high numbers. Similarly, disinvestments will not happen at such high numbers, whether the share market or the equity market also not booming. So one is the revenue coming down, and second thing is the government is required to spend huge amounts on welfare measures in such situations where a lot of benefits or a lot of help is being provided by the government to the poor and the vulnerable across India. So uh, it's a difficult times. Hopefully, we'll get over it. But these are some of the things which companies will have to look at it. Governments will have to look at it, how they deal with it. And I think a lot of measures government will take up uh, in the in the coming future once things stabilize, because right now it's not the time to get measures which will boost investments or equity, because the immediate uh, agenda of government and everyone is to stay afloat, support the businesses which are already there. But in the once things become a little normal, the government may will have to come up with different measures to cover the huge cost of this pandemic which they have bearing now. Maybe in terms of new taxes, maybe in terms of maybe taxing some, come up with new ideas. They will have to come up. They may think of taxing super rich farmers. They may think of taxing more super rich companies or super profitable companies. So we have to wait and watch. There's an estate duty tax which was being thought about for quite some time. The government may think of that. So we don't know what will happen. It's quite uncertain. It all depends on how this recovery happens, how quickly the things return to normal, and how we are able to control the spread of the disease. So with these, I think I have covered my slide deck, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to take it. Uh, Piyush, I'm not able to see any questions or the chat box. So
I think there is one question from Mr. Prasad. If you can just have a look at it, whether this time extension back with any circular or notification.
I'm not
If
able
it
to
is,
see the questions.
I will read it out for you.
Yeah.
Whether this time extension backed with any circular or notification. If it is issue, please share the corresponding number and date.
Yeah, so there is an ordinance which has been passed, which is extending all these timelines. Ordinance has been passed. Actually, in fact, government released a circular, a press release. Government has also done a good job in uh, popularizing the measures they have been taking. So I'll just tell you this. I have with this press release of the government, so the ordinance is dated March 31st. It is laws relaxation of certain provisions ordinance 2020. One thing what I want to mention here is the Supreme Court has, irrespective of this ordinance, has taken a suo motu cognizance of the matter or the situation, and has actually passed an order said that any limitations which apply under any law, general law or special laws, they are no longer apply till they come back and on this point, because of the challenges everyone is facing. So that is also a provision which companies can use, or we can use to see if they have missed any deadlines or not done something on time to get extended benefit, or maybe not pay any penalties at least.
So any other question anyone has? We can just wait for 30 more seconds, Pankaj, and if there are no questions, I think we can call it a day. There is one question coming up from Bhavini. If you can have a look at it, Pankaj.
Uh,
It
I'm
is
not
in the
able
chat box. It is in the chat.
Yeah, but I'm not able to see the chat box. Were you all able to see my screens clearly? Because
Yeah. Screen. So I will just read it out for you.
yeah,
It is
please.
expected that the current account deficit might go in surplus for the coming financial year ending 2021. What are your views on how Indian economy will stand as compared to other developed nations, provided the taxpayers in our country are quite less? So
So
quite a
I mean,
futuristic question, basically.
yeah.
So
So
asking you to
we
predict a lot of things.
correct. So I think we'll have to get a great astrologer to predict, and I'm not sure whether any astrologer will also be able to predict this thing. But I'll just give my personal view on it. Is that India as a country, we are better off than most of the other countries right now. A lot of countries which were dependent on China as their one point supply chain are looking at not just having China as a one point supply chain, but looking at other countries. And India has this opportunity of uh, being an alternative to China in a lot of the products. So that's one thing. Second thing is India as a country has much younger population than most of the other countries. And this younger population obviously is an advantage which we need to leverage, uh, both in terms of it's younger, the vulnerability is also much lesser. Even if people get the virus here, the chances of the recovering and getting back is much higher than what if certain other, older people get. So with the younger population and the opportunity to set up new enterprises and everything. So that's another advantage which India has compared to other countries. Uh, the third is that this is a completely changed scenario. It has turned the world upside down. So there will be a lot of opportunities. So something which has uh, happened in the past or was doing very good in the past will not do good in the future. So there will be a lot of opportunities, a lot of new areas or new things. I mean, just to give a very classic example, was like who knew about Zoom 2 months back? I mean, now it's a household name. I mean, no one knew about. I mean, at least I didn't hear much about Zoom. I used to get Zoom invite, but I was not very particular about attending it or dealing with it. With already so many other apps there, but now it's an household name. So there will be new opportunities which will come up. And India, with its young population, everything, people have that an entrepreneurial spirit to catch up with these new opportunities. There are a lot of things which India can take advantage of. Medical tourism could be one area which India has been a hotspot or been a which India could have taken advantage of quite in a much bigger way than it has. So now it could be an opportunity for India to take advantage of medical tourism, because anyways other industries may not be doing that good. So why not see what can be done on medical tourism and other things. So there are a lot of things which India is a better off situation. So that's my view on the economy. Coming to current account deficit, yeah, it's a good thing, but India has it will. I mean, current account surplus. India, it's a good thing for India. But current account, this particularly because of the oil prices going down. But that is also a challenge now for a lot of state governments, because if the oil prices go down, they'll have to increase the taxes on it significantly to cover up to make the prices uh, to keep the prices high, or they may not get so much taxes if they don't increase the tax rates. And I'm not sure what's the law on it. Can they go on increasing the prices, VAT rate is to significantly high? I think now already it is 30-40% around in between that. So can they make it 50, 60, 100? I'm not sure. So their taxes will fall down if they don't increase because of crude oil rate itself is less. And yeah, India had a deficit for quite some long time. So yeah, surplus will cover up some of those things which India had in the past. Yeah, now I'm able to see the group chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's
So
Bhavani, yeah, Agarwal. So that's all the questions.
Yeah, I think we don't have any further questions, and thanks a lot, Pankaj, for your time and sharing inputs for all of us. I think it was valuable. So thanks a lot, Pankaj, and thanks a lot everyone for attending this session. We will upload this again on the YouTube, so you can look at the video whenever you want to. Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Piyush.